What I'm about to say doesn't apply to everybody. So the ones that get it and understand will get it and understand, and the ones that don't simply won't. And I know that that's very simplistic to say, but sometimes things are that simple. But right now, we live in a time where I feel like now more than ever, we're lost. A lot of us, especially us, you know, that are more up and coming, like the younger generation and things of that nature, to where we're spinning back to these age old questions of what are we doing here? And what is my purpose? And why do we do the things that we do? And why do we have to do this and have to do that? Look, I just want to give my perspective on things. And like I said, if you don't understand it, you don't understand it. But if you do understand it and you are feeling these types of things and having these types of thoughts and asking these kind of questions without knowing where you can get answers or if you're even going to get answers, then I would strongly advise for you to create something. And it doesn't have to be, the traditional methods or mediums of creation, right? Like, for instance, content creation. Like, you don't have to go and start making YouTube videos or Instagram reels or TikToks or anything like that. If your medium is through writing, say you want to write short stories, or even if you don't want to write short stories but you want to write something else, or say it's drawing or painting or woodworking or welding or anything, anything that strengthens your creative reserve or helps you outlet the things trapped in your mind. I would advise you to do that. And the reason being is because I truly do believe that we are put here on this planet to create. You know, what we create is up to us, and what works for us, that takes some trial and effort to find out, or some trial and error to find out. But right now, there's a huge, huge amount of people that just feel almost desolate and like fish out of water, as if you just don't fit in anywhere. You try to go to these different events and these sceneries. I was just out the other night and I felt like a complete fish out of water. I was at a bar, you know. Um, I don't really drink anymore. I drank a lot in my late teens and early 20s, and I left that behind a while ago. Now, I'll have a drink every once and forever, if that. Really, I ideally just not drink alcohol at all. It serves me no purpose. But I was at this bar, and, I was by myself. I ride kind of dolo a lot of the time. And I was looking around, and, everybody around me was having, these nothing burger conversations where you're just around your friends and y'all don't really talk about anything of substance, but y'all talk. Y'all have a lot of energy and y'all crack jokes and laugh and have fun and all that type of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. Please don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. I saw people dancing, and because it was a mix of a bar and a nightclub and a bit of a hangout spot. It's three locations, kind of smushed into one building. And I looked around and realized that it was just me just sitting off in the corner with, my one little can of Miller Lite, just, taking little sips or whatever, working it away, looking down on my phone every now and again, or just looking around and taking in the scenery. And I realized that I was completely out of place. You know, maybe 10 years ago, I would have been right in my element because I've been there. Even this particular bar I went to, I've been there a million times. I've gone on the dance floor and I've interacted with, random strangers and, made pseudo connections with, people that you'll probably never see again after you talk to them that night because you're both feeling yourself a little bit off of the alcohol or off of the whatever it is that you do. And there's a lot of people that feel like that generally, you know. They feel as if they just don't have a place in life with people in the workforce in these, events. It can vary. But then you look at them and you ask them what it is that they do for themselves and specifically for their creativity, the creative output. Because creativity and, even imagination, because it takes imagination to create, it's like a muscle, You use it or you lose it. If you don't go to the gym, you don't strengthen yourself, you lose muscle mass. You become weaker. And a lot of us let that happen to the creative side of us, the ones that are truly meant to create things. Me personally, I got back into my sketchbook. I'm not the greatest drawer, but I practice. And I don't stop. And there was a point where I did stop. For almost a decade, actually over a decade. And then I looked around and wondered why it was that I felt so empty and so devoid and lost. And it was because when I looked up, my creativity aspect had been taken away from my life, and I hadn't, attempted to bring it back or even replace it with something else. I just went on about the regular status quo, which was to go to work, work out, eat, sleep, play the game, watch a TV show or a video on YouTube. But what was I doing for myself? And I understand now that the reason why I felt so devoid and the reason why a lot of people probably are devoid is because they had that part of them and they snuffed it out. And they traded it off for money, for careers. And I'm not saying that you can't do any of this stuff, but what I'm saying is that don't let that part of you die. And I think a lot of us let that part of us die and we don't even think about it. We don't even blink. And we say things like, because it doesn't make us money, that it's not really that important. And, dreams don't pay the bills and passion don't pay the bills and all these things. We center our lives around bills and money. And we equate that to everything we have to do, or everything that we do has to bring us money. And I don't believe that. I don't believe in that at all. I used to work 3 jobs. Yeah, 3. 18-hour days. I would wake up, go to my first job at 10 o'clock, get out of there at around 4, leave from there, come home, change, eat real quick, and then I'd go to my second job and work there from 6 to midnight. And then immediately from my second job, I'd go to my third job and work from midnight until whenever I was done, which was usually about 4 o'clock. Usually about 4, maybe 5 a.m. And that wasn't a good life. Did I have a little bit more money in my pocket? Sure. But my health suffered because of it. My mind suffered because of it. And more importantly, the creative aspect of me, which is my essence, which is my spirit, suffered because of it. And a lot of us do that to ourselves willingly when we know we have more to offer the world. And then we wonder why we feel so dead and numb inside. I hear the term grow up a lot. And there are a lot of aspects where you do need to, I guess, grow up. But a lot of what people equate growing up to is dropping anything that they perceive as childish or I don't even know the word, but the truth is the people that keep that, I guess, childlike wonder about them are the ones that live the happiest lives. And it doesn't mean that they never grew up. It just means that they understood that in this one experience, because you get one experience of life, you deserve to have happiness and joy in it, and meaning and fulfillment and purpose. So don't be so quick to just stifle out everything that you love because you're worried about a bill getting paid. I've struggled. I've struggled with bills. I've struggled with finances, and I've always found a way. And I try to keep that in mind. So if you're feeling like you can't do anything or you feel like you don't know what to do, I would advise you to stop and just create something. And you don't have to do it every day. I would advise you do it every day, but you don't have to. But I would advise you to stop and just create something. And create something meaningful, something that matters to you. Create without the fear or the hope of other people's judgment, because people will judge what you do. It's a part of life. People are judgy. But that doesn't mean that their judgment has to matter anything to you. If you do something and you enjoy it, then it should only be for you. And anything else that comes with that should just be a bonus. But that's just my perspective on things. And that's how I try to live my life. I try not to throw stones from a glass house. I'm working on revitalizing the creativity in my mind.